Hey everyone, we're going to take a quick break and talk about our sponsors for the month, AMP Agency. AMP is a full-service digital marketing agency that specializes in tour, rental, and destination marketing.
We would not have sponsors on the show if we could not vouch for them ourselves. AMP Agency does a bunch of stuff for Destiny Water Adventures personally. I 100% vouch for this guy. I've handed them over to other companies in the past before they officially became a sponsor, and they have had nothing but great things to say. If you guys are doing your own marketing and doing a piss poor job of it, do yourselves a favor. Hand yourselves over to AMP Agency, specifically Steve Edwards, their CEO, will call you personally and have a great conversation with you about what you guys need to do for your marketing.
Listen, guys, they do pretty much everything in digital marketing. Website development, maintenance, Google AdWords, PPC, graphic design, social media management, SEO, and a myriad of other things. When you choose a marketing company, it's so important to choose a company that knows your industry. And AMP Agency knows activity marketing, especially water sports and tours. They got a promo going for Awkward Watersport Guy listeners for their managed websites. Use promo code Awkward Podcast when you go to amp.agency. Again, that's amp.agency, promo code Awkward Podcast. You get 3 months free and get started with AMP Agency. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. Hello, you know what? You sound better. Did you change your microphone or your setup?
Oh, I just have a very sexy voice.
No.
Nope.
No, you sound good.
Oh, thanks.
I think this could be a good episode. Anytime that your microphone is working from the start, it's going to be a good show.
It's going to be a good show. Have you been watching the crypto markets?
No, I don't want to even talk about it.
Nobody does. Nobody wants to talk about crypto.
I sold all of my crypto about a month and a half ago, and if you follow the crypto markets, everything blew up. Literally, I could have made 60 to 70% more than what I sold it for if I just waited 30 days.
It's all of that stuff.
I held it for 2 years. That's the funny thing. I held it for 2 years, and then finally I'm like, here's the thing. If you have cash that's sitting there and it's not working for you for that long, then you have to do something with it and put it to work. So I cashed out and I put that money to work. Now, is that money getting me 50% back right now? No, it's not. Maybe one day it will, but it's frustrating.
Last week I saw it spike and I was like, oh. I mean, so I didn't cash in any type of, I had very little sitting in my thing, but when that first spike, and ETH didn't even really spike as much as Bitcoin has. Bitcoin's gone through the fucking roof again, man. It's at like 42,000, man. And then last year was down to 16 grand. Ugh. I mean, and at the end of the day, I think it's just it's literally just like anything else. When I put something somewhere, as a general rule, I just kind of let it sit there. But I didn't have much in ETH, but when it spiked, I got out. I was like, I'm good. I didn't, it was like, I think I had 7,000 in there or something and it went to 11,000 or something. And I was like, nah, that's good. I'm fine.
The crypto markets are so manipulated, something that I'm done with for now. I mean, I might get back into it one day, but at the same time, I want to do something else. Warren Buffett says something about, companies you invest in or just things you invest in general. And basically, if you don't believe in it anymore, then you get out. Now, you can believe in it once again in the future, but at this moment, I did not believe in it, and I was just ready to move on. And I knew that when I sold it, it was going to probably come back, but, you have to make a decision sometimes.
Yeah. You know what Warren Buffett really preaches? Just dollar cost averaging into the S&P 500 for 20 years. That is actually the biggest piece of Warren Buffett advice that everyone always just sort of overlooks. And you can get deeper into the weeds on it, but if you follow Graham Stevens is one, I'm trying to think of, I used to listen to Mr. Money podcast. There's a handful of guys that are just dollar cost average into the S&P 500 for 20 years and try and save as much money if you have a regular paycheck or just, it's the most simplest.
You can't go wrong with dollar cost averaging the S&P. If you zoom out, It never
10%.
goes down. Yeah, you're going to get 10%. So
10% back on your money, man. And don't get me wrong, like in the inflationary environment that we currently live in, I mean, I think the Fed's trying to they're down to what, like 3% right now. So it's all just I don't think it's really as complicated as people make it, but I think that crypto and every other bright shiny object plays to get NFTs, whatever the AI, whatever the buzzword of the moment is. It's like 50x, 100x returns. Like these just
I mean,
moonshot.
I'll admit, I invested in crypto with the hopes of a huge return. I think that's what most people are doing, for the most part.
I just want to go on record here because I know people love it when we argue, but there's 2 times I told you. One time I was like, during the NFT thing, I was like, Greg, sell now. You didn't. And that when you were getting ready to sell your crypto, I was like, Greg, don't sell now. It's at the bottom. And both times, not that I'm an investment expert, and I was like, don't get left holding the bag, Greg.
So I knew that it was going to go back up. I just didn't know is it going to take a week or a year or 2 years. I didn't know. So I said, if it's going to take
cycle,
if it's going to take a year to go back up, then I'd rather cash out now and put that money to work doing something else. And that's the decision I made.
Yeah, it's a fucking gamble, man.
It is a gamble. It is.
I just got back from Vegas, and they just like, I hate those stupid tables.
How'd you do?
Man. Oh, I own the casinos now. It's the Wynn O'Neill and the Conrad O'Neill. It was awful. I think I hit a blackjack once, and it was a push, a split with the dealer because she had 20. She had a blackjack too. I don't give it enough time because I try and do the what is that called? Not a Fibonacci, not the Fibonacci. But it's basically just like doubling your bet. So if you did it like 10 times, you would be putting up like 10 grand by the 10th time. The problem is every time I play blackjack, I can handle about 5 passes where I lose 5 times in a row, and I'll keep doubling down. And then I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. So I last about 15 minutes. I did poker, I did blackjack, I did roulette, and I lost every single.
So when I play blackjack, I have to look at the casino rules because some casinos have more favorable rules for like double and splitting and surrendering. And if the tables don't have those favorable rules, I really don't play. And also another thing, a dealer told me one thing about the cards. And they said that, if you're losing, there's a mathematical reason why you're losing. And that's because of how many high cards or low cards are in the deck. And that's why I don't use the automated card dealers, because you can never really know. Now, you don't have to count cards to know if there's a lot of low cards or a lot of high cards. You just have to be aware at the table. If you see 5 hands in a row and it's mostly lower cards, then you know there's more higher cards in the deck. And when there's more higher cards in the deck, that favors the player. If there's more lower cards, then obviously it's going to favor the dealer. If you're losing 3-4 times in a row, sit out a couple hands or wait for the next shoe, because unless you start seeing a huge shift in the cards, you're going to continue to lose.
Well,
so
I mean,
it's a little suspicious
if you guys tuned in for crypto advice or blackjack advice, I think that you are probably talking to 2 of the most wrong guys in the room. Because neither one of us.
No, when it comes to crypto investing, never take my advice. Just treat it as entertainment. But blackjack, I do win a lot more than I lose. So
I think that's up for debate.
No.
It is a mathematic certainty that any of those games you are going to lose 100%. Like I don't know that there's any. From my understanding, it all comes down to bankroll management. At least that's what I always learned in poker. Is that if you know how to manage if you know how to manage your bankroll and you know what your expectations are, this is how professional players play. But if you're going to go sit down at the blackjack table, you're destined to lose because it is a mathematics. Same with roulette. There's a mathematic certainty that the edge is to the house. So as long as you keep on playing, you're going to lose.
I'm not saying that you're going to win every time. I'm just saying you can reduce the amount of losses by understanding the rules, playing basic strategy, and being aware of the cards being dealt. That's all I'm saying.
I can't disagree with that. You got one more. You have one more Biloxi trip with me, buddy. You know how when you like walk out of the casino, you're so disgusted sometimes when you're just like, ugh. That's the Kevin you have today.
It takes about a day or two to kind of get over a bad loss at a casino. It's like losing a big client or having something happen to your business. You need like a day or two to just.
Yeah, if you lose your a hand of blackjack, a day or two. If you lose your business, a day or two. Like all gets better with time. So anyway, I guess this is like a weird way to recap the year, which is basically what this episode is about. How was your year, man? How was
my year?
2023, Bob.
It was just okay. It was not great by any means. It wasn't terrible by any means, but I'd say that it wasn't as I expected. Like if we looked at even our beginning shows or the end shows of 2022, you'll see that we kind of thought that it would be similar to 2022. It would be a decent year. I really think that the economics played a role, but I also think being in Florida, we dealt with issues that other states are not having, such as, I'm not going to get into the political things because I think that's a very, very, very small part of it. But I will cite the fact that so many people went to Florida in 21 and 22 that there might be some fatigue.
I mean, for Florida.
For Florida, because we did not see the drop in numbers in Alabama and South Carolina, which are the two other destinations that we book a lot in. But Florida, our biggest clients saw, significant drops, like double digits, some in the 20% plus year over year for summer. Are you tired of spending countless hours managing your water sport and boat rental reservations manually? Is your current system outdated or doesn't provide the necessary features that your business requires? Hi, I'm Greg Fisher, the CEO of WaveRes, an online reservation software built by operators for operators. With our system, you can offer 24/7 online booking to your customers, allowing them to book and pay for their rentals at their convenience. You can also send SMS notifications to your customers, keeping them updated on their reservation status and any changes that may occur. Custom options and dynamic pricing enable you to offer tailored packages to your customers, helping you stand out from your competitor. Plus, our system integrates with companies like Werewolf Digital Waivers and TripShock, streamlining your operations and ensuring a seamless booking experience for your customers. Our software is the best choice for water sport and boat tour operators as it is designed to cater specifically to your needs. So why waste any more time on manual reservation management? Try WaveRes today and take your business to the next level. For a limited time, mention this ad and receive a $100 credit when you sign up. Check out waveres.com for more info or to schedule a free demo. Now let's get back to the show.
Legacy, I think also too, you have to take into account where a business at it in its life cycle. If you're a startup and you started off with 3 boats, or this is your first year in the passenger game, passenger boats or fishing or charter, whatever we're talking about here, because water sports is so loose. It's such a wide industry and there's so many different markets and different factors that come into play. I am the most negative, optimistic guy you'll ever meet. You're going to always hear grumbling from me, especially this time of year. We have to write checks. It's Florida in the north at the end of the year. South Florida, they're going to have flags in the air. They're going to be all excited about Christmas, right? Somebody sent that to me. They're like, yeah, it's like money season. I'm like, maybe for you. For us.
I hate
so
this
you're
time
gonna hear
of
a lot
year.
of grumbling, but it's like war, it's annoying and you get pissed off and you get a bunch of scars and stuff, but you keep on pushing forward as though you expect a good outcome for a good win. We had a good year. And again, it's like all commensurate, right? Like top line, bottom line, business life cycle. So these are all very fluid things and fluid terms. We had a great year.
Yeah.
We had a great year.
I mean, I said that when I say like if we have a good year, bad year, I'm mostly speaking from a financial standpoint, but from like innovation and updates and things like that. I mean, TripShock launched their new site in May, and that was like a big project. I mean, we haven't updated our site in several years, so that was completed. And WaveRes had a bunch of new clients. Actually, WaveRes did very well this year. We added a lot of clients, got a lot of key features completed. Potentially some big news for next year, but
big news for some of that. Big news, I think, involves us. I think we're in the process of Ilya's going through the WaveRes features. Destiny's going to move over. It's a question if you guys are like regular listeners of the show or don't know. Destiny's we've always been Fair Harbor, but yeah, we're going to be moving over to WaveRes. Makes sense. Love WaveRes, obviously. It's not like a big pitch for Greg and WaveRes, but was this always like one of those things? It's just like sort of annoying to move over, like, oh man, I don't want to move over, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah. It's challenging. We talked about that a few shows ago. I mean, moving reservation software, and honestly, I'm glad you brought it up, because if you are thinking on moving reservation softwares, it doesn't matter if it's to WaveRes or not. This is the time you think about it right now, because unless you're in a seasonal market that's busy right now, but when you're slow, you want to make all your moves right now. We actually have quite a few meetings this month with people interested in switching. Even if it's Christmas, this is actually even the best time to do it, because you have the time to invest in training and learning, where you start mid-January, you're back at it preparing for spring. So you have a few months to get it together. And that includes, researching other tools, like Boaters Test and waivers and all the software that runs your business. You should be diving in and doing demos and calling up colleagues and asking them what they're doing and, what works for them. But perfect time.
Yeah, this year was, again, I guess if you talk to me in, let's say August, you might get a different Kevin. In August, I'd have been like, oh man, it was a great year. Like we didn't do as great as we expected. We added some stuff to the fleet, like Destiny does what Destiny does. But now it's like right before December, everything's just slow and quiet.
I hate it.
This is the hardest time to talk to me, man. Because everyone's like, yeah, you want to like write some checks and stuff, and I'm like, no, man. Like money is just like,
yeah.
But I've learned to live
every week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I've learned to live with those like ebbs and flows. What I've not learned to do yet is pee before we start recording.
Oh.
And then drink canned. Every time I come into my office, we have these bubbly soda waters, and I drink them, and I make the coffee, and I just get into it so much, and now I have to pee. So, give me a second. I'll just stand up and pee right at my desk. We're doing video now, so I'll be excited about that. Oh, my Lord. That was a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like tis the season, and tis the year. I think for both of us for building. I know you guys have been doing a lot of stuff with WaveRes. We've been doing a lot of stuff with our boat test platform, which is always fun. If anybody's interested out there in spinning up their own boat testing platform, I can promise you, it's so sexy, and things move really, really slow. But it's just like, last year, this year was sort of like a lot of waiting and building and growing. And it's like sort of like startup vibes a little bit with everything, I feel like, for you, for myself. And I just sort of think, without getting like too existential, that unless you're just plateaued, unless you're just like, yep, this is it, there's always a little bit, as an entrepreneur, I feel like startup. You're always just kind of like, oh man, when's the next thing? Or what's the next thing? Like, how are we going to grow? Or how are we going to scale? Or what are we going to... I mean, at the conference, which was an awesome, massive success. I feel like that's just always on everyone's mind. It's just growth. Like, how are we going to? I don't think anyone shows up or listens or tunes in because they're like, how do I maintain?
Yeah. You know what I think? Yeah. I think that a lot of us, especially those who listen to the show or in our Facebook group, I think a lot of us start new ventures or add-ons to their business because it's just in their DNA. Like, they have to. It motivates them and inspires them. It helps them learn and grow and stay relevant. I don't think it's so much about the money. And I can attest to that. Like, I can't sit here and just run one company and do one thing. And the truth is that by doing that, you're probably going to be extremely successful by just being very narrowly focused on one thing. But for most of us, we're entrepreneurs. We have to do new things. Like, we have to add new things to our business and learn and grow. It's just who we are.
Yeah. And I mean, even to that point, without making it all about us, but it's you know, the podcast, right? The podcast, the events, the things that Greg and I do separately, and the things that Greg and I do together. It's like we want to grow. And I think anybody listening to this feels the exact same way. And the podcast has grown. Like it's trust me, guys. Like, when you're like talking about like water sports in the state of Florida or even the country at large, like the industry itself has not really. It's done what it's done, right? If this were a show about like pizza making, it's like it's hard to get innovative or be innovative. Unless we're talking about like marketing or reservation technology, and even that, it gets stagnant. So it's a slow burn for all of us, for every last one of us, for whether you're adding more jet skis to the fleet or another passenger vessel or whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's like not easy to innovate and grow a small business, and that's what all of us really are. Everyone listening to this, there's very few of us that are really very large operators, you know, other than, I mean, Greg, you're probably the closest person I know that is like a large operator. But when you started off, you very much were a one-man show. And so like these cycles, you know, they happen year in, year out. So, I mean, what do you guys got planned for next year going forward? Personal, professional, financial? What do you want to do next year, man?
I mean, next year I just want to continue focusing on the three companies. I don't talk about the one business I have, but I run a security plugin software for WordPress sites. So that has really, that's what I was just kind of referring to, is it's something new, something to inspire me and help me learn and grow. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be in your industry. It could be something totally outside that just, and honestly, a lot of the things I'm learning with this new startup helps me with my other companies as well. It just brings other fresh ideas to the table. So, you know, just that, I'm really trying to, like right now, and I think a lot of our listeners are feeling the same way, is like, how can I be competitive next year? Like, what are we expecting? And I've been sitting down and just pouring through a lot of data, talking to different, you know, lodging professionals to see what I need to do next year, you know, for all my businesses, particularly TripShock and WaveRes. So I'm preparing for a similar year to 2023, if not a little worse. Oh. And if it's better, then that's great. But I am preparing, and that's the difference between going into 2023 and then going into 2024, is that I went into 2023 thinking it was going to be similar to 2022.
Yeah.
And now, if I'm going to go in thinking that it's going to be similar to 2023, or for now worse, then it can only be better. So
yeah,
so we're cutting cost and really pouring through and one of the things I saw, I'll just give one piece of information that I found, is I was looking at our converters for bookings on TripShock, and one thing that stood out to me is that in the off season, more than half of the people who converted through Google Ads were considered top 10% household income. That's a stark difference from what I've seen in previous years. So what that confirms, to me anyways, is that people who have money are spending it. Just like we heard at Arrival and what we've been seeing in other aspects of our industry, that people that have money are spending it. So if that trend continues, I'm going to be positioning my advertising and my acquisition cost on people who have money to my best ability. It's hard to segment those people because you got to rely on the data that Facebook and Google has. But that's one thing. If I can create products, create features, create add-ons, whatever, that helps attract that customer base, then that is what I'm going to be doing. That's one of the many things that it's kind of on my mind.
Yeah, I think things are going to get shook up. I've said it before. I kind of think we're kind of like in this like consolidation phase where there's just like a lot of like micro peaks and valleys, and we're just kind of like staying in this like kind of middle. And I don't mean that just from water sports or discretionary or global political. I think around the world, like I think there's a lot of, we're in for another election cycles coming up. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I have no idea what to predict, man. I mean, like, frankly, since we started this podcast, like, I mean, we've experienced geopolitical unrest. We've experienced like wild election contesting, COVID, pandemics. Like, man, the last 3 years have been fucking bananas.
Yeah.
So I think anybody that says that they can predict what the next year is going to be, I think they're full of shit. Because there's just too much in the recent past that has happened that has shaken up the entire world, and that affects global markets, that affects local markets, and affects everything. Job markets, labor markets. There's just been so many bizarre peaks and valleys throughout the last 3 years. I think it's anybody's guess. And for me, that means to definitely laser in on what I know, but also diversify. I don't want to spread myself thin, but I also want to have my hands in a couple different things. I want to be experimenting with stuff, but also making sure that we continue to do what we're really good at. And it just leaves a lot of uncertainty, I think.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be a similar situation than going into 2020 and even 2021. We had no clue. We had no clue what would happen when Florida opened back up in 2020. Would have no idea that 2021 would have been explosive. Like, I remember we created our budget for 2021 and we weren't even close. We exceeded it so much that I couldn't fathom it. And then obviously 2022 and 2023 we were way off. So I think 2024 is probably going to be similar, but I'm preparing for it to be.
Guess.
Yeah, it could be anyone's guess, but I feel like if I prepare more conservative, then I'm going to come out ahead and going way more. Like we cut our costs significantly compared to than what we did going into 2023. So I feel really good, and it also goes back, I'm not going to start anything new. Like, we have a much smaller development budget for Trip Shock next year. Like, we already built our new site last year. We spent all the money we needed to on upgrades and our infrastructure, but I'm focusing really heavily on promoting the destinations that have always been very profitable for us, because I need 2024 just to go away. I need to get to 2025 because 2024 election cycle, interest rates are likely going to start dropping. So people will get more money back in their pockets, but we still have lots of other issues, like you mentioned, wars, things like that. I'm just hoping that a lot of these things get resolved next year. So 2025, it kind of puts us in a better position. Yeah.
I got a good one, like a real recent one, man. Like, I got to be careful here. So I have like an unhinged competitor. Right. In one of my businesses. We'll leave it at that. And they follow me like weirdly. And they keep like a dossier, it looks like, on like one of our people followed them or something like that. And our names are similar. And so like, I got home yesterday or the day before yesterday. I was just wiped out. I'd get up first thing in the morning, get the kids off. And they were talking about this. So they're basically saying like the market was down for them and it was slower than usual. And, you know, and like they're texting me like over and over and over again, like 10 texts, you know, and I'm just like, what is your problem, lady? And like, we don't want any problem. We don't want any drama and this and this and that. And I'm like, well, all right, you know, like there was some, like we took one of their pictures or something like this. We have a lot of people that work for us. We have offshore people that do some of our marketing. And like, to be honest, I have no idea. I'm not sitting there going through my TikToks or Facebook or Instagram and like making posts or videos personally. So I really don't know. We put out a ton of content every single day. I literally couldn't tell you what piece of content got taken from where. And so I called them up and I just kind of took like the Awkward Watersports Kevin angle of just like, well, look, you know, like focus on your business. I have no idea why you're scouring through mine. If you guys have great service, because I'm not going to have this big tech conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, focus on your business, you know, drill down on what it is that you do. And if your business is great, like wonderful. Like if somebody mistakenly comes to my location and does something with one of our businesses, and because we're closely linked, like it's all commodities, right?
Yep.
Like we're in the rental business. I rent boats, I rent jet skis, I rent Jeeps, I rent vans. Like, you know, without getting like doing a super deep dive on all of these different things, this is what I'm telling you. I'm like feel free to go listen to my show and you can hear everything I preach. I'm like, I have no idea what my competitors are doing because I'm too focused on what it is that I'm doing. Right. So you'll be fine. Like everything should be great and fine. And then, couple hours later, I get a 1-star review. And it was like, well, like one of their friends decided to go white knight for them or something like that. And I was able to easily find the person who left them a 5-star review under the same name, left us a 1-star. Was obviously like a fraudulent review or whatever. And, I don't know. It's just like, it's funny how all of these things like seem to come full circle, because when we're on the phone, they were like saying like, we had a great year. So I'm like, well, if you had a great year, why are you texting me you had like a bad year? And then like, so this is like the time of year where people are bored and they're looking through their stuff and they're trying to figure out what the hell they're doing and how to make next year better. And as Greg says, I kind of share similar sentiments, although I'm reticent to not make any kind of any guesses, just because things have just from year to year to year have just been so wildly different. Mm-hmm. And this is the time of year that you might be looking at your competitors and might be going like, oh, if we are in for a crappier year, you know, let's start like cutting prices and stuff like this. Always a race to the bottom when you do that. I feel like don't need to start slashing prices right away or dropping your rack rate right away. I mean, if you want to run promotions and stuff like that, always do that. But dropping stuff to the bottom, going to war, getting all funky and weird about your competitors, like that's what you don't want. You don't want to do that because it's never good for anybody. When you're sitting there focusing on what your competition is doing, like all you can do right now is figure out maybe how to reduce some costs, maybe how to run some creative promotions, maybe do some enterprise sales, like, you know, stay working on your business and inside your machine that works best for you. Because it's going to be a coin toss, and again, I may be repeating myself, but it's like you read one headline, it's like, oh man, we've been hearing that there's a horrific recession coming around the bend. I think
they've been talking about that for 2 years. Yeah, so the typical,
I feel like there is probably something coming.
I think it's already here. Usually when they talk about it, it's already here. They just don't have the data
the bottom's
yet.
in.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
So the typical business owner will respond to lowering their prices when they hear that things are not going to be as good as they think they will be. A great business owner will say, okay, let's not lower prices yet. Let's look at how to get better customers. So I just mentioned about maybe adjusting your ads so you're going after people who have the money, creating other sales channels like group sales, corporate sales, picking up the phone and calling people. Everyone that's listening can do group business. I guarantee it. There's something you offer that you can sell to groups, wedding planners, hotel concierges, military bases. There's lots of places you can go to. So think outside. If all else fails and and everyone in town is way cheaper than you, and you have to take some measures, then there's that. Most reservation software have the ability to have set certain schedule dates for your promo codes. So the promo codes are only active for slower times of the year, slower weeks, or even day of the week or time of the day. So utilize the tools in your reservation software to actually create promotions that, won't take away from, like, there's some weeks in spring, like Texas week in Destin here. I mean, it's crazy. Everyone's sold out for the whole week. You don't need to do
get
promo
educated.
Codes. Exactly.
Get educated.
Look at your look at your rates and your schedules and your availability last year.
Continue to read, continue to listen to podcasts, continue to come to events, continue to educate yourself. I'm reading Musk's biography right now by Walter Isaacson. That guy's an unhinged maniac. Elon Musk, that is. I just did IAPA. We've never talked about IAPA on the podcast. I don't know how relevant. I don't want to give like a quasi review of IAPA. I don't know how relevant it is to our industry. I walked around. I looked at a lot of different things.
What is it? Is it?
IAPA is an industry event for attractions and activities, right? Universal, Disney, think family fun centers, inflatables, all this different stuff, festivals, all of these big like event planners and attractions, and they're close enough to us to be interesting, but I also felt like I needed like about $5 million more to be walking around there. I mean, there was so much cool stuff. I mean, from vending machines, it was more in like the physical realm, things you could put your hands on than it was like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was plenty of software and insurance people selling their products and services, but it's certainly interesting. It was enough to get the wheel spinning a little bit. You look at these sort of like family fun centers and attraction type stuff, and it did give me a couple different ideas, even for our own conference, how they kind of gamified their conference a little bit more. They had some panels where they were doing like a Jeopardy type theme, and they like spun a wheel for topics. And I kind of wanted to bend the MC's ear a little bit, and he was incredibly busy, so I couldn't. I'm not like a regular like I am at Arrival. I can grab one of the guys and pull them aside and be like, "Hey, tell me about how you guys did that." But it was definitely interesting the way they sort of merged the education with making it like a gamified experience, which I thought was super cool. But it was really fun. It was like it was just, there were so many people there and so much to see. That it was just, I mean, it's a spectacular event.
Yeah, I
People
heard
operating at a much different level.
Yeah, it's the Disney's, Universals all go to these big conferences. That's
I mean, not just them, all of them. Every if you have a bowling alley, like you name like the goofball, like all that stuff we have here in Destin, the claw machine arcades and the race tracks and the water slides, all that stuff. It definitely piqued my curiosity.
There's
a little bit.
Trade show or conference for everything.
Dude, that thing.
There is. Yeah, it's huge. I've seen.
They said if you walked the floor, it was 9 miles. If you walked every single lane, like, because it was like set up like basically like a square, like a board. And if you walked A, B, C, and D, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I mean, my God, it was so much to take in. Like, some of these things when you walk into Disney World or Universal and you don't even like think about it, but just the these visual aesthetics and physical marketing products that they have. We did this like Halloween themed karaoke while we were there, And I noticed like those like the paintings on the wall that sort of like change as you look at them, or like digital displays. Like each one of them, I was like, oh wow, I could have bought those at IAPA for $10,000 or $15,000 per or whatever insane amount of money. A Skittle machine or vending machine or something like this that you can pick out the different Skittles. And then I was walking through the airport on the way to Vegas, and I saw a Lego, and all I could think of was like IAPA and all these different, because it's all like rev share.
I almost bought a claw machine on eBay years ago just so I can practice the claw machine. Have you ever want to do that? Just buy it so you can practice it, so when you go places you can just...
The thing about IAPA and the claw machines is like, the claw machine thing is like, I almost feel like most of them are rigged. You know, like the claws are too loose, you know, to actually like pick the thing up. Because like at IAPA, you go and you're like playing it, and they have it barricaded off, right? So you can play the game, but you can't stick your hand in and get the prize because they have like a wall on the gate or whatever, so you can't actually get the thing. But I was like, man, if I was an actual claw machine aficionado, like I would think like, man, I'd just go into IAPA and just win like every single time you win. But they have to adjust those things, because I've been a winner chicken dinner a few times on the claw machine. But
maybe a handful of times my whole life. My mom had a friend who she just knows how to win them, but she only played the ones that were winnable. Like she knew like how high the stuffed animals needed to be, like how big the claw was.
My point to all this is like, I went there. There were some pretty decent little ideas. I've always thought about the vending machine thing. Just like wheels turning, ancillary income. Like, what can I stick here? And it's something I preach like nonstop, because the one thing we saw last year in this market was everybody go fucking bananas on Google Ads. It was like all you knew how to do. I'm just going to spend $3,000 a day on Google Ads. I have zero idea what my return was, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, that's fine and well, and that's great. And the insurance providers that are always calling me and want our damage protection or trip protection, well, all these people are spinning up all these. When I start to see companies start to create business models based on things that I sell, and they're creating entire companies all around that, then it gets my head thinking, right? How can I increase my average cart? So if next year is any indication of what this year looked like, then I'm trying to think how to extract more money out of my current customer. How can I get a little $10 here, $5 there? I'm not interested in the $400 day boat or the $100 jet ski. That's all fine and well. That pays the bills. That keeps the labor. That keeps the electricity on. That keeps the machines running. That pays the insurance. That pays the rent. But in the periphery, all these little dollars and cents, ancillary things that I can think of, like, should I put a claw machine there? We sell beer. We sell wine. We sell t-shirts. Should I put together a VIP package? And if you've ever listened to the show or heard me talk, like, this is where my brain is always at. How can I get another $5 out of the person walking through the door? Because that is where the margins are. How can I increase our bottom line revenue? So going in next year, it's like what we went into this year. It's not just adding more to the fleet and grossing more. It's what we can keep in our pockets.
Yeah,
and the only way you're going to do that is by looking in is dusting those corners.
No, you make a good point, because back to the conversation about the top 10%, I read an article about, well, actually this was in Arrival. Arrival put an article about, but wealthier travelers, they're looking for personalized experiences. So you talk about VIP package. This is exactly down that road that you're going in, is generating more income, creating these experiences for people who have the money to buy them. You might not get a huge take rate on it, but at the same time, if it's well put together and your team can execute on it, then why not? Maybe it's an extra few $100
I'm so much more. I call it pencils, man. I call it the pencil theory. Like, I am so much more interested in selling people a pencil, right? Because I pay a penny for that, and if I can put a crab on there and get it from China and then sell it for $2, those margins are so much better than anything else we do. the margins are so much better. And this is like, and I'm not going to get big on an insurance rant or whatever, because whatever. But this is my point, whether it be a damage protection or fun little add-ons to picture packages or boat tests or if front side booking fees, like wherever you can find 3, 4, 5, 6%, whatever it may be, there's whole industries that are tacking stuff on to what it is that we sell, and they're making a ton of money on our margins. Mm-hmm. And this is what we need to be focused on. If you can make $100 off a customer, but you can turn that to 101 or 102, and that $1 or $2 doesn't cost you anything. It goes directly into your pocket, and it lines your coffers for if there are going to be bad times to either acquire or make new equipment purchases or whatever businesses that you're going to buy, whatever it may be. But the devil's in the decimals.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, like one of the few things that can easily be done is just selling snacks. Snacks have a huge ass margin. Have potato chips and shit like that, sodas right there. I mean, because when they come off the boat or they get on, there's an opportunity. Either, they say, hey, I need some snacks for the kids. I forgot to bring them. Or when they come off, they're hungry and they want something to, until they go get lunch or dinner or whatever. Like that is just such a simple way to generate a little bit more profit from your customer. But yeah, I like your thinking, Kevin. And this is what we've been preaching for a while. It's just, if there's going to be fewer customers this year for all of us, meaning that we need to make the most of the ones we have. And also if we do have customers that are willing to spend more, like your top 10%, then create experiences that are customized, because they will pay for a more intimate experience. So I think we got the right formula. It's just the question is, for our listeners, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I don't know. Figure it out, man. Get in the weeds, get in the dirt, make that money. Yeah, I think next year is, like you said, is going to be a lot of more of the same of this year. Yeah. So
if it's better, then that's great. If it's better,
Because to that point, we have a bunch of really cool things that we have in the works for next year and for events and for the show and offerings, because we want to continue to grow with you guys, and that means we have to continue to provide better experiences for y'all. So man, with that, we're about out of time. And we appreciate you guys listening. Hope you guys have a great 2024. And Greg's got something more.
Got one thing, I just want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for the year. So Von Mack Agency, AMP Agency, PPC Pros, Conversion Assist, Red Hospitality. I think that's, if I missed you, then I owe you a free ad spot. But I do appreciate everybody that has supported our show throughout the years. And we have some pretty big news. We are going to have a conference next year, if you were wondering. It's going to be in Florida. It's going to be at the end of October, most likely. And, we look forward to sharing the news once we get things more together. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I'll make sure to jump in our Facebook group. This is the perfect time. We talked about preparing. You should be asking a ton of questions right now. So we all have the time to help provide more advice. At least we should have some extra time. It's off season. So make sure to get active in there. All right. Well, from me, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. And we look forward to starting our season 4. Beginning of next year.
Keep it awkward, fuckers.